$50 million robbery of Shedeur Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the one or two in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL didn't just fumble this draft. They flat out robbed Shedeur Sanders of $50 million, and everybody knows it. This wasn't about talent. It wasn't about performance. It was about politics, collusion, and bruised egos at the highest level of the league. And now the whispers are turning into shouts. The Sanders family is preparing a lawsuit that could shake the NFL to its core. This isn't just another draft day slide. It's a scandal that looks more like a setup than an accident. And by the end of this, you'll see why Shedeur's story might end up rewriting the rules of how the league treats its players. Think about what the NFL draft is supposed to be. A celebration. Dreams coming true. The moment when years of blood, sweat, and late nights finally pay off. For Shedeur Sanders, the son of primetime himself, Deion Sanders, it was supposed to be just that. The Colorado quarterback led the NCAA in completion percentage at 74.1%, broke school records, became the centerpiece of one of the most...
There was another team that he sat down with.
What do you mean it didn't go well after that?
So, he was pissed that they
did that to him.
They did that to him.
He counter-confronted
the
them.
same thing they do to every other quarterback prospect. They did that to him. They slide in a mistake to see if you catch it.
Right. And so
because you're the quarterback.
But he didn't take it as a correction. He took it as like he got pissed off.
Yeah, and it's like so here's another one. So another one was, he throws a bad interception, and it was a deep throw early in the game, and he comes back and I think they
most talked about seasons in college football history and was projected as a top 20 pick. Scouts, analysts, mock drafts. Everyone had him as one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the class. And yet, the cameras at his draft party told a different story. The champagne stayed sealed. The smiles froze. And when the call finally came, it wasn't in round 1 or even round 2. It was pick number 144, the 5th round. Cleveland. A moment that went viral not for celebration, but for shock. Now ask yourself, how does that even happen? We've seen quarterbacks drop before, sure. Aaron Rodgers fell. Dan Marino fell. But no quarterback this universally hyped, this statistically dominant, has ever plunged for whole rounds without an injury or off-field scandal dragging him down. That's why Deion Sanders erupted. This league just blackballed my son, he reportedly fumed. And at first, it sounded like the emotional sting of a father watching his kid get humiliated. But then the leak started.
A lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what Shedeur Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in the draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation.
Reports of owners privately warning each other about brand baggage. Internal chatter about Deion's outspoken interviews during Super Bowl week, where he made it clear his family would choose who they played for, not the league. It all started to look less like bad luck and more like retaliation. Here's where it gets wild. According to private investigators tied to Shedeur's legal team, internal communications suggest some ownership groups were quietly advising one another to steer clear of drafting him, unless absolutely necessary. Translation: let him fall. Let him lose money. Humble the...
But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The 5th
Sanders family. And when Cleveland finally scooped him up in the 5th, it looked almost orchestrated. Cameras were tipped off early. Shots were staged before the pick was even announced. And the result? A quarterback projected to make $60 million in first-round guarantees suddenly staring at a rookie deal worth peanuts in comparison. That's not just a fall. That's financial sabotage. Now, the NFL's defenders will say, he bombed interviews. Sure, at the Combine, teams threw trick plays at him, inserted fake mistakes in film sessions, and reportedly didn't like his answers. Shedeur supposedly told one team, "Maybe I'm not your guy." That's not the polished, compliant answer GMs want to hear. But let's be real. Since when does one testy interview erase 3 years of elite play? Since when does missing a planted mistake in a chalkboard session erase lead
to the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on them. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on them. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder.
the nation in completion percentage. No, that excuse doesn't cut it. If it did, every prospect with a bad day would be dropping 4 rounds. And they don't. And then came the Giants. Oh, the Giants. Out of nowhere, they conveniently leaked a trimmed clip from their private interview with Shedeur, showing him in the worst light possible, then locking the rest of the tape away like it was Area 51. Fans immediately smelled blood. If he was truly that bad, why not release the whole thing? Why just one carefully curated snippet? Why hold back the full context? The leak wasn't transparency. It was a smear job, a clumsy attempt to justify what already looked like collusion. And in doing so, the Giants only made things worse. Instead of ending the story, they poured gasoline on it. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't just a draft pick. He was a headline, a trending controversy, a walking symbol of how the NFL treats players who don't play by its rules. And here's the irony. The harder they try to bury him, the bigger he gets. Fans are rallying. Social media exploded with demands. Drop the full tape. Analysts are pointing out the double standard. If Shedeur really wasn't good enough, teams would have said so before the draft. Instead, silence. Instead, whispers. Instead, one GM caught on camera asking his own son who to draft, then shrugging it off like a joke. The whole thing reeks of politics over performance. But here's the twist the NFL didn't see coming. Cleveland's ownership. Reports say Jimmy Haslam himself forced the Browns' front office to take Shedeur, even after GM Andrew Berry and coach Kevin Stefanski tried dodging by drafting Dylan Gabriel first. Haslam, known for chasing headline quarterbacks, wasn't about to let Shedeur slip. And now, word is he's applying heavy pressure to make Sanders the starter from day one. The same league that supposedly tried to humble him may have just handed him the keys to one of the most quarterback-starved franchises in the NFL. Talk about karma. And Shedeur? He's not sulking. Since OTAs, he's been showing out. Calm in the pocket. Laser accuracy. Commanding the huddle like he's been there before. Every practice clip adds fuel to the hype. Every rep makes it harder for Stefanski to keep him off the field. Analysts are already saying he could be starting by October. Some say sooner. And the Browns fan base? They've adopted him already. From kids in the dog pound to lifelong diehards, Cleveland sees him as more than just a quarterback. He's a symbol. The underdog who got robbed, humiliated, and still came out ready to fight. That's what makes this story bigger than football. Because at its heart, this isn't about whether Shedeur Sanders can throw a touchdown. We know he can. It's about power, control. Whether the NFL, this multi-billion-dollar cartel, can still dictate everything, or whether a player with the wrong last name and too much swagger can shake their foundation. That lawsuit? It's not just about money. It's about exposing how the sausage gets made in those draft rooms, how owners whisper to each other behind closed doors, and how narratives get manufactured to humble players who won't be OW. Where does it go from here? If Shedeur starts in Cleveland and thrives, the league's little, humbling stunt backfires spectacularly. He goes from victim to vindication, from robbed to rising. But if the lawsuit moves forward, things get even uglier. Discovery could drag private owner conversations into the light. Emails, texts, the stuff fans never get to see. Imagine what happens if that evidence leaks. Imagine the fallout when the league's golden shield of integrity cracks wide open. And that's why this story isn't going anywhere. Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be a first-rounder. Instead, he was robbed, smeared, and shoved into the fifth. But the NFL may have underestimated one thing. Resilience runs in his bloodline. The Sanders family doesn't fold. They fight. And every shady whisper, every leaked tape, every smear attempt only makes Shedeur's eventual rise more compelling. This isn't the end of his story. It's just the beginning. So buckle up, because the Shedeur Sanders saga isn't just about one draft night. It's about the NFL's old guard clashing with a new generation of athletes who aren't afraid to call the shots. And trust me, this is a fight the league never wanted, but one they may not be able to win.